Hey there, fellow soil enthusiasts. Welcome back to Soil Secret Studio. Today we're pulling back the curtain on something truly fascinating happening right beneath your feet. While you're admiring your tomatoes or planning your next planting bed, there's an entire universe of microscopic activity transforming your mulch into black gold. We're comparing twig mulch and wood chips to see how these tiny workers interact differently with each material, and trust me, the differences might completely change how you approach mulching this season. Right now, under every inch of mulch in your garden, billions of microorganisms are working around the clock. These microscopic laborers are breaking down organic matter, cycling nutrients, building soil structure, and creating the foundation for plant health. Understanding this hidden world isn't just academic curiosity. It's the difference between a garden that limps along with constant inputs and one that becomes increasingly self-sufficient over time. As we move deeper into 2025, more gardeners are recognizing that feeding the soil biology matters far more than feeding the plants directly. When you look at fresh twig mulch next to standard wood chips, the visible differences are obvious. Twigs are thinner, more varied in size, often include bark and small branches, and have a rougher texture. Wood chips are uniform, processed, and typically larger. Three main groups of microorganisms dominate mulch decomposition: bacteria, fungi, and protozoa. Bacteria are the sprinters of the microbial world, multiplying rapidly and breaking down simple compounds. Fungi are the marathon runners, with thread-like structures called hyphae that can penetrate woody material and decompose complex compounds like lignin and cellulose. Protozoa act as the predators, feeding on bacteria and releasing nutrients in plant-available forms. The balance between these groups determines how quickly your mulch breaks down and what nutrients become available to your plants. Twig mulch creates superior housing for diverse microbial communities because of its varied structure. The mix of thin twigs, bark fragments, and small branches creates countless microhabitats. Tiny crevices shelter bacteria, while the varied particle sizes create air pockets that support aerobic decomposition. This structural diversity means more ecological niches, which translates to greater microbial diversity from day one. The bark component in twig mulch is particularly valuable because it contains compounds that stimulate specific beneficial fungi and bacteria that protect plants from pathogens. Wood chip processing fundamentally alters the microbial landscape. When wood is chipped, the machinery crushes and shears the material, exposing fresh surfaces and mixing sapwood with heartwood and bark. This processing creates more uniform particles, but also releases compounds that can temporarily inhibit certain microorganisms. Fresh wood chips often arrive with fewer viable microbes than unprocessed twigs because the chipping process generates heat, and the chips may sit in oxygen-depleted piles. However, this initial disadvantage becomes an advantage over time as wood chips create a more stable, fungal-dominated environment. Watching these materials break down over months reveals dramatic differences in microbial activity. Twig mulch shows visible changes within weeks. The thin bark begins flaking off, the smallest twigs start softening, and the material begins knitting together as fungal hyphae colonize the pile. Within 3 to 6 months, much of the finer material has broken down significantly, creating a layer of partially decomposed organic matter mixing with the soil surface. This rapid transformation reflects intense microbial activity, with high populations of bacteria working alongside fast-growing fungi. Wood chips tell a different story. For the first several months they look almost unchanged, but beneath the surface, fungal networks are establishing themselves, slowly penetrating the woody material. The decomposition is methodical and sustained. After a year, wood chips remain structurally intact, but have begun softening. After 2 years, the bottom layers transform into a rich, crumbly material, while the top layers continue protecting the soil. This slow decomposition represents a fungal-dominated system building stable soil structure. The nitrogen tie-up myth deserves attention here. Many gardeners fear that wood chips will rob their soil of nitrogen as microbes consume it during decomposition. This concern is overblown. Nitrogen tie-up occurs primarily in the top few inches of mulch, where fresh material meets active microbial populations. It doesn't extend deep into your root zone. Twig mulch, with its faster breakdown and higher surface area to volume ratio, actually experiences similar temporary nitrogen immobilization just for a shorter period. The key is keeping mulch on the surface rather than mixing it into the soil. Both materials ultimately release nitrogen as microbes die and are consumed by other organisms in the soil food web. Carbon to nitrogen ratios, they really explain much of the microbial behavior in both materials. Wood chips typically have very high carbon to nitrogen ratios, sometimes exceeding 500 to 1 for hardwoods. This means there's abundant carbon for energy, but, limited nitrogen for microbial growth. The result is slower but more sustained microbial activity, as organisms carefully ration the available nitrogen. Now, twig mulch generally has a more moderate ratio, perhaps 200 to 300 to 1, because it includes more bark and cambium layers that contain higher nitrogen concentrations. This balanced ratio supports faster microbial growth and quicker decomposition, releasing nutrients more rapidly, but also exhausting the food source sooner. The vigorous microbial community under twig mulch translates to immediate soil improvements. As bacteria and fungi proliferate, they secrete sticky compounds that bind soil particles into aggregates. These aggregates create the crumbly structure that gardeners really cherish, improving water infiltration and root penetration within a single growing season. The rapid nutrient cycling means plants access released nutrients quickly, supporting robust growth without synthetic fertilizers. The diverse microbial population also includes countless beneficial organisms that protect plant roots from pathogens through competition and antibiotic production. Woodchip mulch builds these same benefits, but on a longer timeline with more permanent results. The fungal-dominated system creates stable humus compounds that persist for years. The extensive fungal networks physically bind soil particles while transporting water and nutrients across distances. Plants growing in soil enriched by years of woodchip mulch show remarkable drought resistance because the fungal networks and improved soil structure retain moisture far better than unmulched or newly mulched soil. The reduction in synthetic fertilizer needs becomes dramatic as the soil biology matures, cycling nutrients efficiently and even accessing nutrients from the subsoil through deep fungal networks. So, incorporating twig mulch effectively means applying a layer about 2 to 4 inches thick around your plants, but make sure you keep it away from the stems to prevent any rot. You can source twig mulch from tree trimming services or, just create your own by running your prunings through a chipper shredder. This material works beautifully in annual vegetable beds, especially where you want quick soil improvement and don't mind reapplying mulch each season. For perennial beds and orchards, consider starting with wood chips as your base layer, then refreshing with twig mulch every year. That way you combine long-term soil building with immediate microbial activity. Both materials deserve a place in your garden toolkit. Wood chips, really excel at long-term soil building, creating resilient, fungal-rich ecosystems that require minimal intervention once established. On the other hand, twig mulch provides faster results, diverse microbial activity, and excellent performance in situations where you need quick soil improvement. The microbial advantages of twig mulch make it increasingly popular for intensive vegetable production, where rapid nutrient cycling supports those heavy-feeding crops. Still, wood chips remain the champion for permanent plantings, and areas where you want to set up a system and let it mature over the years. Many successful gardeners use both strategically. They establish paths and perennial beds with wood chips, building that slow, steady fungal foundation. Then they refresh vegetable beds with twig mulch each season, maintaining high bacterial activity and rapid nutrient turnover. This combination approach, honestly, harnesses the strengths of each material and the distinct microbial communities they support. The real-world impact becomes visible in plant health and soil quality. Gardens mulched with appropriate materials show deeper green foliage, improved stress tolerance, and reduced pest pressure as the soil biology matures. The soil itself transforms from compacted and lifeless to loose, dark, and teeming with visible life like earthworms and beneficial insects. If you found this microscopic journey valuable, hit that subscribe button and share this video with your gardening friends. Drop a comment below about your own experiences with different mulches. Have you noticed differences in how your plants respond? We'd love to hear your observations and, keep this conversation growing. Until next time, keep feeding those microbes and happy gardening.